cool thing about this one, as you can see, it's still in its plastic nearly 40 years after it was released. But we're going to change that right now. Sometimes I get a bit excited with the knife there, but you kind of expect that for a 39-year-old kit. Having a look at the box, I remember doing this plenty of times 4 decades ago. Airfix like photos rather than box art, but it still whet the appetite and was something to look forward to if you could get one. That's it.
Well, fellas, we've never had an easy ride over there yet, and today won't be any different. No escort except unfriendly, so keep your eyes peeled. Stay on the ball, gang, and she'll bring us back like she's always done. Okay? Let's go.
And opening her up, it's exactly what you would expect. All that silver, rivety goodness. Some fairly significant shape errors with the Airfix one, particularly around the cockpit and the top turtle deck, but did the job. And some fairly uncomplicated instructions with the decals and the little paint thing stuck to it. We'll have a closer look at the decals and the instructions a bit later. Little paint switcheroo thing, and the decals which did not age well at all. And here it is laid out. You might want to pause it for a closer look once the banner's gone to see what you might otherwise miss. And that's Airfix. The thing about this one, like the Airfix one, is it's still in its plastic. $6.95. But we are going to change that right now. Now let's see if I can open it up without hacking the box to bits this time. There we go. Remember that feeling? Of course, Memphis Belle was a B-17F, not a B-17E, but that's a small point, I suppose. Now, this one was particularly memorable for me because I was Christmas 1982 when I was 11, and I got this. Probably a bit too advanced for my abilities back then, which is why I may not have ever finished it. Oh look, it's moulded in colour, but it was a pretty exciting model to have at that age particularly, so I was pretty happy when I found this. And let's open her up for the first time, and that's exactly the way that I remember it. Even the plastic is different from plastic today. Fairly basic instructions, typical of the time. Heat damaged on one side, being Australia, where it's set against the bottom of the box. And the Decals have aged better than the Airfix ones. Here we go. That's the stuff. Rip her open. This was one of the most fun parts. Still is. Yep, this certainly takes me back. And again, pause for a bit of a closer look if you want to zoom in.
The enemy knows the path of your approach and walls that path with a flak barrage, but you fly right through it. Flak so thick you can get out and walk on it.
And then we come to my sentimental favourite, the Matchbox one. In grade 6 or year 6, 1983, the year I turned 12, this one sat at the top of the pile at the local Toy World toy shop. I think it was $9, which was $9 more than I had most of the time, especially when I could get 3 of the purple range kits for that. Some good colour schemes here. Enough on the outside to appeal to a kid staring at the boxes, to pester someone.
Set for correct altitude and speed. Bomb bay doors open. The bombing run begins. Pilot to Bombardier. Okay, Vin, you've got it.
Here we go, open them up. 2 lots. We have a painting guide as well as an instruction sheet, as you'd expect from the bigger Matchbox models. And a more comprehensive decal sheet than the first 2.
Committed to our bombing run, we can't dodge flak or fighters. Here's the first. Flak now has the range 2.
Now we come to the Hasegawa kit, which hands down wins the quality argument, but also a lot more expensive, probably twice what you'd pay for one of the Revell ones. Can't remember the Airfix price, but you certainly got what you paid for if you weren't a school kid. I didn't get a Hasegawa one until I was in the workforce myself. And that's great box art. Even better than the Matchbox one, I think.
Bombs away.
And the kit has Japanese instructions. It must be a Japanese release. And it's very securely held in there. It's in the bag, which is stapled. But that won't stop us because I've got my knife. And I put my hacking skills here to very good use. I really like this kit. And this is what you got. I didn't think to take it out of the box for this one, but worth a bit of a look.
The first half of the mission is over, the easy half. Now to get home.
And then we come to the instructions, starting off with the Airfix. Again, you might want to pause, have a look. Or perhaps not, it's entirely up to you. bit more. Those instructions are what you would expect from the time, but they got the job done.
That's a fighter. And then a blink. That means he's firing at you. 2,300 rounds a minute.
Now we look at the Revell one. Again, it's a B-17F, meant to be a B-17E according to the box. Fairly uncomplicated, and it shows the 60s philosophy of as many moving parts as possible, particularly control surfaces. Airfix had some movable control surfaces. I think Hasegawa even had a rudder, perhaps, and that was it. And here we go to Matchbox. Thank you, scale mates, for saving me having to try and get my scanner working again. And the paint layout, again, worth a look. Fairly basic, but you get the idea.
This fortress is hurt. Engine on fire, losing airspeed and altitude, drifting into the flak, alone and helpless, a straggler.
And then we come to Hasegawa, and like everything else, their instructions are first class. And these ones are the English instructions, which again came from shapeways.com. Thank you very much to the uploader and those hosting. Very polite too, there's lots of pleases and so on if you pause and have a bit of a look at the instructions. And their drawings were spot on as well, pretty much. And you also got this beautiful glossy sheet.
Every face turns to see and count. The watchers try to read the numbers on the ships.
And now we look at all of the decals together. The Airfix ones to begin with. They haven't aged well at all. Unlike the Revell ones from about the same time, which have aged very well. They look basically new. And then we come down to Matchbox, which are great for the younger modeler because a lot of the tricky bits they've given you as decals, like that rudder and the lines that go on the wings. Very handy. The basic standalone insignia for the Hasegawa one on a separate sheet from the aircraft particular markings. And I only noticed after looking at this that Hasegawa and Airfix portrayed the same aeroplane.
36 planes left this field this morning. Now 6 more arrived. That makes 20 home. And this one's 21. More wounded aboard. Now we look at the fuselages. Revell and Airfix,
Both moulds were 20 plus years old by this stage, and they'd done a few, so there's a fair bit of flash, as you can see, particularly on the Airfix one. But lots of rivets. I go on about rivets, of course, but you know. And I think the Airfix one, particularly around the cockpit and that turtle decking, isn't as accurate as the Revell one. Some inaccuracies here and there with the shape. But you get that. And then Matchbox, again, I wonder if the separate nose meant they were one time going to do an F. Who knows? And of course the different gun positions, showing one staggered and one not. Hasegawa on the bottom, Matchbox on the top. And you can see just how crisp and clean, particularly the Hasegawa one is. But the Matchbox one has pretty nice lines as well. I think Hasegawa's main inaccuracy was the top of the windscreen.
24, Southern Comfort, with a chunk of tail gone. 25, they flew home on their luck. 26, not a scratch.
Now we're looking at the wings. Revell and Airfix, rivety rivets. But, has to be said, both of them built up to nice kits for kids particularly. And I've even seen some built in more recent years that weren't completely terrible. And then the wing uppers of Hasegawa and Matchbox. And we have Airfix and Revell underside of the wings, and you can see the different take on rivet placement and different turbo sizes. I'd have to check to see which is closer. One thing that I really liked about Matchbox was green wing uppers, grey lowers, green fuselage, and lots of parts in black. Of course, it didn't allow for the grey under fuselage, but it certainly meant you could put it together, didn't have to worry about painting the whole thing, and chuck the decals on.
3 more planes, and one of them is the ship everyone has been pulling for.
The Memphis Belle. The last few miles of this trip have been a joyride. The strain is over. They can leave their guns now. Now they know they're going to go home.
Now we have Airfix and Revell engines. They're pretty good by 1960s standards. You can see the moulds on the poor old Airfix one are pretty worn by here. You can see all the flash. Then we have Matchbox in black and Hasegawa in very light grey. Pretty basic, Matchbox particularly, but also Hasegawa. Good old aftermarket. And then we have Hasegawa cowl in the grey and Matchbox cowl in the olive. And now we've got Airfix and Revell's propellers. Bit of flash and slight different shapes. I'm not sure if one went for paddle blade or not. And then we've got Hasegawa and Matchbox, both of which spun. We've got aircrew. This is Airfix, didn't have any for Revell. And then Hasegawa in the light grey have a ground crewman, nice touch. Matchbox in black. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been great to bring these 4 models that were available to us back in the 70s and 80s. See what we think. Please let me know what you think. And please do feel free to give me suggestions and comments and things, and like and subscribe and all that stuff. Now, I just thought I would add this because I thought I'd show you someone who's been along with me the whole time. This is Miss Millie on her spot. Cheers.